Good afternoon. This is Axe Maudlin. This evening we are listening again to that interesting topic. Is there darkness in the mind of the child? As we begin this afternoon, I would like you to know that it's a repeat of this live is repeated because we just want to make sure that persons are aware of the main subject that we are looking at. And I just want to begin by saying when I speak about is there a darkness in the mind of the child, I want to reference this statement that says a child's mind is like a citadel and it takes a good teacher to tap into that mind of the child and break that cord for learning. This topic is all about learning. It is a psychological address to the darkness. And many of you may be wondering why some children are not learning. But let me say today that from experience, we recognize that I have experienced some children suffering in the classroom. And so this evening, I trust the presentation here will throw some light to teachers so they will get strategies how to help the child, and parents would be encouraged to help their child in a meaningful way. Some children are suffering, and the suffering that they are suffering in the classroom is referred to as word blindness. They look normal. Everything about them is normal. They have been trained, they are latent learners. So they are aware of how to function. They know to get up, brush their teeth, bathe, and follow all these routine because they learn it and it is stored up there for them to use that information to survive. However, when it comes to learning at school, they have a problem. And this problem sometimes is not just because their brain is not fully developed, their brain is normal, but it takes a teacher, a good teacher. When we talk about a teacher who is warm, a teacher who embraces the child and help the child to understand that they are able to do what they must do. And this teacher is one that can break the code for the child to learn. I speak this having an understanding of children for the last 25 years as an elementary teacher, 15 years 13 years doing school supervision, and even at this present time, working with children at the preschool level. The more we embrace the child, the more we coach the child, we are able to get that child to have confidence in themselves. I want us to recognize that this topic is also research, and when a child must learn, the brain must be engaged. This is why the topic is there darkness in the mind of the child? And as we engage the brain, I just want to share with you the brain, how it is utilized in learning. So give me a minute to share, yes. And I'm sharing with you, this is the brain. You see the lobes Yeah, the lobes of the brain. We have the frontal lobe, and that part of the brain deals with problem solving. We're sharing it 1 minute, you're going to get it. Just a minute. All right, it seems as though we're not getting that to be shared as we would like to. Yes, but we're talking about the brain. A child's brain, there are different areas in the brain that assist us to learn. Just in. Okay, so. And that's in sooner. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for the help, Gina. So we have the frontal lobe of the brain, and that part of the brain deals with movement, problem solving, and speech. We have the part of the brain, the temporal lobe of the brain, that it deals with language and memory and hearing, emotion. And in some, we talk about some people are right brain and left brain. And the right brain people in this whole conversation, just let me get that. Right brain people are people that are good at speech. They're they're good at reading and writing and computation and logics and mathematics. All right, that's the left brain people. The right brain people are good at creativity, imagination, intuition. They do a lot of nonverbal. They are good at rhythm and daydreaming, emotion. We may wonder which brain, which part of where are we really functioning? And some people function. It is believed that when somebody is left-handed, the right part of the brain is functioning more, and if you're right-handed, the left part of the brain is functioning more. What is really happening though is that when some people have reading disorder because they are left brain, when they have this reading disorder and speech disorder and so forth, they're saying that there is a deficit in these area, and the problem can be dyslexia and many of these learning problems. And therefore a teacher needs to be good and have the classroom in a way that would help the children to learn. And as I was sharing, so I'm sharing as well what in my time what a classroom looked like. A classroom, at the time we focus a lot on we focus on literacy and numeracy. And so as you would see, this is a sample of many things that happen in the classroom. Teachers are encouraged to have their classroom as stimulating classroom. So organize centers like reading centers, ensure there is book corners and reading corner in the classroom, word game. I had a mathematics corner where children were engaging with cash machine and giving money notes and so forth. Science corner where children engage with animals. At the time I had these animals embalmed. And so they actually, I didn't have it in a way that they would touch it, but it was sealed off so that they could see it. And they had much discussion, and all of this helped to bring out their language and vocabulary. So teachers are encouraged to really have that stimulating classroom. Parents as well are encouraged to have a stimulating environment. When you have a stimulating environment at home, it gives the child that opportunity to ensure that they are engaging with things that is compatible with their peers. As a parent, some of the things that I used to do with my children, every holiday, I would ensure that they have things to, they would have things like what they can paint. So they would have their resources for painting. They would have their resources for reading. This is how parents can help facilitate the child, because what you invest in the child, that is what you're going to get out. What you put in is what you're going to get out. And as I go back to the classroom, having that stimulating classroom has really helped. As I was speaking last time around, I had a grade 4 class, and that class is 2 years away from the actual common entrance class in those days, which today is a CPEA class. And what did I do? I had a philosophy as a teacher. I believe teachers need to have a philosophy that spoke to no child should leave my class without being good writers. And as I was sharing from secondary school, I had a book called Mastering Modern English. This was a book that we used at the secondary school, and it was written by Bernard Shaw. And that book said, "He who cannot speak cannot write." So what did I do to help the child who was having problem to access his language? What did I do? I modeled. Any story that I asked the child to write, I modeled that story to the child. And in modeling that story to the child then would be asked to present their example of story in a similar fashion. Why did I do that? I had a teacher at the secondary school level who helped me as a teacher, and it is believed that teachers tend to copy where, the tradition, how they were taught, they teach the way they were taught. And that teacher helped us when we came to the secondary school. He helped us to write, because I was a child that could have do the language and everything, but for some reason, I just wondered why. How other children was writing such beautiful stories, and I could have read, but I just didn't know how to get this thing composed and create a wonderful story. And that teacher helped us in our time so well. He would ask us to write stories, whether it's A Narrow Escape, whether it's The Worst Day of My Life, and give us a chance to begin to write. And when we begin to write, he would be walking around the class to see what people are writing. I believe that teacher looked around and saw that we were not doing a great job. So he would go up to the front of the class and began his writing. And he had lovely strokes. He, in those days, writing a story entailed indenting. For paragraphing, you had to indent. He demonstrated this. And what we were experiencing, he was modeling for us how he was thinking to get that story out. And he would speak and write. He would then punctuate the full stop. So one beautiful sunny day, I was walking down the road and I met a man, and he is speaking out that, and he is modeling that for us. And he would write an entire story by the time the class period is ended. And so I had a compilation of many of the stories every day. He didn't do grammar, he didn't do poetry, nothing like that. He just did model for us how to write a story. And he taught us the first 2 years of secondary school, every day modeling what it is and how it is to write a story. By the time I got to Form 3, I didn't know how it happened. And that's what you call the latent learners. That's what you call how the teachers work with the children that are suffering, the children who cannot access their language. They are learning and they are storing up for when the time is right to come. And when I got to Form 3, I just didn't know how it happened, but I just began to write. And I never failed, I never struggled to write anymore. And this is why I'm here today, to be a voice for these children who are struggling, who do not know how to access that knowledge. I remember I was even teaching the grade 4, and there were, in those days, there would be 25 and up to 30 children. Even the maximum amount of students that could have been in a class is 35. However, just the top few, first 5 children were the ones that really may be able to give you a good story. And so the majority was not. And what did I do? As I said, I keep modeling the story. And I remember one day when I modeled and I asked them to write, there was this girl in the class whom the children they label her as being stupid. I think it's because they thought her eyes wasn't looking as theirs. It was just looking different. So they model her as being stupid. And because of that, I guess she was even withdrawn and she thought she couldn't do as the others. But through this practice of modeling, one day when I pick up a book and I saw the marvelous story that she wrote, I shared it with the class, and they called and they said, "Oh, she is bright." And this just sparked something in this child. From that day onwards, she was writing and writing beautiful. Now, there is another side to the writing. She wrote, but she wrote as how she heard the song. So if she heard ma, ma, she wrote mama as how she was hearing the song. And so in such a writing, there would be spelling errors. But when you look at the whole content and everything, she was able to access what she wanted to say. She was able to give expression to what she wanted to say. And her life changed. I'm encouraging teachers, we do not just ask the child to write. but let us model for the child. And if a parent is listening, parents who are listening to, I encourage you to do similar. You can help model the writing for the child so that the child will do well. I also move away from that grade 4 class because in those days they would switch around teachers, and I had a grade 6, and the children, they were doing well in all other subject area, whether it's social studies or science, any of these other areas. And I felt they were doing so good that I ignored their writing. And I think because my philosophy in grade 4 was no child can leave my classroom without writing. I taught the children was good writer. And when it came to the time for them to do the exam, I recognized that they were not writing. And I was shocked. And I had about 2 or 3 weeks to get them ready to write. And because that was part of the examination. And I said, what I would do. So I decided then to take them and put them in a circle and speak stories out to them. So I spoke out, which was a narrow escape. I spoke out. The day I got lost, I spoke out a terrible dream or so forth. And I started to get them engaged. Sometimes I would pause. And so they were learning. Look at how I'm thinking. I don't have any paper before me, but I'm thinking of the story. I'm thinking this happened first, this happened second, and this happened third. And the way I was thinking, they began to see how I was using my thoughts together. And I decided then, now, okay, since I did the whole story for you, I'm going to do a portion of it, and you're going to make a chain and say that story out. And the children started to get their language through this chain of sharing their story out. And there was a boy in particular whose parent knew him to be good in mathematics and social studies and so forth. And when they began to see him writing long stories, 1 page, and gone on to the other side, they marveled. And these children were able to write. They didn't get the idea of paragraphing as they ought to, but they was able to get that whole story out. Now, what happens to help the child when the child access the language, then the teacher can teach them the skills of paragraphing and the skill of proper sentencing, because sometimes they might overrun and so forth. What I'm saying is that no child should be left behind. There are strategies of modeling, the strategy of creating a rich environment, the strategy of helping the child to feel comfortable and to know that they can do it is important to help the child in their learning. And the research has given us our idea of how we can do it, make that class interesting. In my classroom, not only did the children do reading and have the corner to go and read, there was the activity corner. There was a corner where they did word game. And when they played the word game, they were reinforcing some of the words that they learned. Even today, reading is so important for the children that the more we read for them, the more they can get themselves to experience other worlds, the more they can get themselves to be able to dissect how things are supposed to be written from a perspective of another. And so today I am just encouraging parents, don't give up. If your child is appearing that he is not understanding, what is I'm advocating now is modeling. What I'm advocating is ensuring that you create a rich environment for the child. Let us ensure that these children are exposed to even, I remember having opportunity to let the children dramatize what they learn. And it is said children learn through play. So when we did a story or so forth, and we made the children dramatize, and this helped in a great way. So do not give up on a child. Don't give up. Every child can learn. There is no darkness in the mind of the child, whether they are slow. What is happening is that they are internalizing. And as they internalize, and the frequency, the consistency of hearing and the repetition, it helps them to be able to gather what we are saying. And soon they will do what they have to do. The consistency of that teacher writing and modeling to me and other students has helped us. And from that class, we had children who were great in creating drama that is recognized nationally. We had children who were able to come out and be doctors. We had children who were able to come out and just help themselves in reading. Don't give up on a child. It is never too late. Be consistent. Thank you.